We are driving on our way to Lake Ouachita State Park. Actually, we're going to go to Lake Ouachita State Park and we're going to go by and see the Little Blakely Trail and the Blakely Dam, which frankly are all out this way. You'll have to excuse me. It's sinus season. And we're passing the Boys and Girls Club on the right, and moms are about to pull out and get hit. Here's the baseball diamond at the Boys and Girls Club. Really pretty cool place. A lot of great diamonds, great fields. We're turning on to 192. Now this is the technical name. See, we're right here at the corner of the home plate, a sponsor of Hot Springs Village Venues. And we're going to turn on to 198, which, yeah, not really. This is Strawberry 3000. If you have known anybody, been here more than 10 years or something, this is Strawberry 3000. And you say, well, Dennis, that's a unusual name for a highway. That's because before this was a highway, this was actually a logging road owned by Weyerhaeuser slash Green Bay Packaging. Now you say, okay, well, you're going through the National Forest now. No, not really. I'm actually driving through the area that is Green Bay Packaging. These are lands that are adjacent to the National Forest, and it's a beautiful spot, as you'll see. Now there's a cutover here just in a minute. That is a beautiful area, but you'll see. And typically, you cannot come this way at night without finding several deer. But again, this was Strawberry 3000, and the Strawberry 3000 goes on to the other side of Highway 7 there, and it is called Strawberry 3000 on the other side. This was the designation that the fine folks at Weyerhaeuser gave it, and we're passing over a beautiful creek now. You see the curves in the hilly area and whatever. Up here on the left, there's a cutover, and you go, wow, it's terrible. They cut all those trees. A lot of those trees had pine beetles, and there's a significant infestation. Just to my left, as you can see, and I can't turn the camera that way now, but there's a little pine grove that's maybe 8 to 10 years, and the trees are probably 10 to 15 feet tall. It grows quickly here, people. We do well at growing trees. To the right-hand side here is the north, and we're going to be coming up to an area beside Lake Ouachita State Park, or Lake Ouachita. We're about at the foothills of that, if you'd see. Now notice we have pine trees along the way. We have gums. We've got every kind, if you know what I mean. There's an oak and a hickory or two. Again, I ask you to pardon me. I'm having a sinus issue here. Just to the left here is a beautiful creek that parallels this entire road. You can see that on a map, and actually I'm trying to find it, and I'm moving pretty quick because I've got other people behind me. There actually are people that live up in these woods. This is not uniform forest like you might think, because the fine folks at Green Bay Packaging have sold some of this property occasionally. So there are homesteads on either side, but those people chose to be, how shall I say, way up in the woods. We're coming up to the cutover area on the left-hand side here, and as you can see, it's a significant cutover. I would say, gee, maybe that's 30 acres, 40 acres, but they did have some significant pine beetle infestation in here, and that's one of the ways to clean that out. On the right-hand side, they've cleared this, and they're replanting that. Once again, all this is not National Forest. This is Green Bay Packaging, Weyerhaeuser, that has land adjacent to it. This is one of the tributaries that feeds Lake Ouachita, right here beside us. Beautiful hills to the far side. I don't know if you can see that, how big your screen is as you drive down the road with us. And I hope you're enjoying this. I hope you can see that, once again, we're still beside that cleared out place. You say, well, Dennis, you only said it's like 40 acres and you're still driving past it. Yeah, but it's not 2 acres deep. Maybe it's 1.5 acres deep in some places. And then there's a significant place where there's the pine beetle infestation back there. But the rest of this, beautiful. See that road to the right? Mark that road to the right. That will take you to the Little Blakely Trailhead, which is on the south side of Lake Ouachita State Park. It's on the south side of Lake Ouachita. You look across the lake at Lake Ouachita State Park. Absolutely beautiful area. And out on the end of that, about 3.5 miles down that bumpy, gravelly road, is the Little Blakely Trailhead, and about 30 miles of hiking trails just around that point. People go down there and park in the cove. They will camp in the cove. They camp on the lake. And it's not a designated camp area. It's just, national forest that just happens to be adjacent to the lake. The National Forest, 1.7 million acres of Ouachita National Forest, does cover, it surrounds the area all around Lake Ouachita. And the Corps of Engineers, which our good friend Mr. James Wilburn reminded me the other day, the Corps of Engineers does manage that property because it's part of the Army. Remember, Corps of Engineers? Yeah, I missed that little detail, didn't I? I think we're back in the forest, or we're kind of coming and going out of the national forest now. There's a lot of mixed woods and deciduous here. When you have a plantation farm like we just drove past back there, it's hard to really say, okay, well, let's grow some pines and some hickory and some oak. No, they want to just grow pine. They want to harvest pine in 20 years or 30 years, and they want to put pine back in. All of this, there's sweet gums along the road, there's hickory, there's elm, there's hickory, there's oak, all kinds of good items. Now, as we're about to the end of Strawberry 3000, and you're going to see why it's so important. There's Lake Ouachita State Park, one of my favorite locations. But we're going to turn left here, and we're going to go back down to Mountain Pine and go up and see the forest. Hang on, we're going to do a quick whoopsie-doo first. Here's a whoopsie-doo. Let this car behind me get around. There, it says we're in the Lake Ouachita National Forest, and we're 2 miles from Lake Ouachita. And I always thought this was just a beautiful, beautiful area. And by the way, if you're on your way to Lake Ouachita, I love Lake Ouachita State Park. This may not be the way that you want to come and launch your boat. I hope you can see the grade, and I'm in a very powerful car that can make it up it no problem, but I'm taking my time getting up the hill here just to show you the grade and the gradient. It's a significant hill. It's a significant hill. And these are the hills that make and contain the Lake Ouachita State Park. I would guess we've gone up 200, maybe 300 feet. Yeah. And we're still not there. Climbing, climbing, climbing. And climbing, climbing. So if you've got a 4-cylinder SUV and you're pulling a boat, yeah, you probably want to go on to some of the other landings and drop your boat there and drive it back over to Lake Ouachita State Park. Once again, absolutely beautiful area, but a little bit harder to get to. On the other side, and I'm turning around here before we get to Lake Ouachita State Park, absolutely beautiful area, but like I say, a little bit harder to get to. Some of the other landings just a little further back down, Shangri-La and some of the other ones here, very, very easy to put your boat in. Here, not so much, not so much. You probably want to have a pretty powerful engine and a pretty significant rig to get you up the hill. If you can see to the right, I don't know if you can see that, beautiful mountains. We're looking out over the hills of Mountain Pine. When I first started coming to Mountain Pine in the 70s, they came out here with my parents, and I thought this place was heaven on earth, and I'm yet to be dissuaded from that. And by the way, hear all the funny noises on the road? Well, now it quits. It sounds like whale noises. There we go. That's actually the pavement. There's undulations in the pavement, so I always thought that was interesting here. So we come down to the junction of 192 and what we call Mountain Pine Road here in just a second. You can see the Lake Ouachita, or the Ouachita National Forest sign there. And then we're just going to bebop on in to Mountain Pine, where back in the 70s, the Dirks Timber Company, remember how we talk about Hot Springs Village, and remember how we tie all that together? Beautiful little new house on the left here. Kind of in a low spot. I don't know that I would have built there, but remember how we talk about the Dirks Timber Company? Remember that Dirks Timber Company owned the land that Hot Springs Village sits on and Lake Ouachita sits on before there was a city, or before there was a town, and before there was a lake. There was Dirks Timber Company. And Dirks Timber Company owned land from Lonsdale to inside the IT, the Indian Territory, and an amazing amount of land that they owned. And this was part of that area. And the Dirks Timber Company built a pulp mill pine, or a pine lumber mill right up here. We'll see it in just a couple of minutes when we get into Mountain Pine, hence the reason for the name Mountain Pine. And by the way, yes, this is a beautiful little drive, and no, I'm not taking you anyplace special. When I go in to work out in Hot Springs with Diane, this is one of the ways that I go. It's just a beautiful, bucolic view. Love this area, love the folks here. My pest control guy is just up here on the right. There's a woodworking place, a handy antique wood teak place over here on the right hand side, Wood Unique. A lot of interesting businesses along here. But when we get into Mountain Pine, you'll see where the lumber mill was that they tore down, and I'm guessing 2007. And then they just left. And now Dirks became Weyerhaeuser, and Weyerhaeuser sold their land to Green Bay Packaging, and then they retained some of their forest, but they retained their mills and their other operation under that name, which is the Weyerhaeuser name. Well, Weyerhaeuser shut down this plant in 2007, and you say, well, okay, Dennis, that's somewhat interesting. No, it's very interesting, because you see, my friends, our world today is affected by this mill closing down and by the events that happened in this little town. The #1 DJ in America, and has been for probably next to a decade, came from this little town. Yeah. We're about to pull into greater Mountain Pine, Arkansas, where Mr. Bobby Bones, not his real name, got his start. He actually left Hot Springs. He one of his proudest accomplishments, he said, was that he graduated high school. And you say, well, that's kind of an underachiever. No, he was the first one in 3 generations in his family that had graduated high school. Many of them simply quit, went to the lumber mill, started working at the pulpwood mill, and actually, that would be their job. That would be their life. Some people would work 30 and 40 years here, and that was their adult career, was working at the mill. Right up ahead of us is the mill, and there is a major creek right along here on the left-hand side. By the way, just over the hill to the left here is Mr. Fat Possum Farms, Mr. Joe Taravella, who I think the world of. Just an exceptionally great guy. I'm going to kind of go left crooked right here. No, here, I'll show you. You can see, if you look to the left, you can see some development here. They were going to be building a window plant here, but they didn't. But that land is still up for development, and the river was on that side. Well, you say, okay, so there's a river on that side. Well, they always needed water to spray on the timber to keep the timber drying at the same pace. If you cut timber and lay it out, it'll dry, and you'll do it rather quickly within just a few days. Then it will crack, and that's not what you need. You want to be able, and you can see the brown work here. Excuse me, the brown earth area. But this is exactly where the mill was. This is the plant back here, the processing plant, and they had hundreds of acres of timber just stacked up here, and they would spray water on it all day long. all day long, all day long. They actually had an autoclave here where they actually forced copper into the wood, and that was how we used to pressure treat wood. So as you might imagine, there are some things that aren't, shall we say, very environmentally friendly. The boyhood home of Bobby Bones. And here's the little Y, and I'm going to show you, if you'll go with me here, I'm going to show you one of the prettiest campuses, I think, in Arkansas, and that is the Mountain Pine School District. Now, I've caught them at 3:50, so the buses are just letting out and going to get the kids. Excuse me. And we're going to get to sit here a minute and wait for the popo to pass through. There we go. Wait all the buses. You can see the beautiful playgrounds over here. You see, well, Dennis, it's not exceptional. Well, kind of is. Right ahead of us, straight ahead, you see the school. On the right-hand side, see a hill back behind that school? Yeah, we're going to be there in just a minute. That is one of the mountains that actually bounds in and holds in all of Lake Ouachita. The dam is affixed to that mountain on the other side. Beautiful little, just bucolic school system. There's elementary, middle, and high school right here. And now we have ended the school zone, and we are in the area managed by the Army Corps of Engineers. Now, there is a park up here, and what you need to know, Lake Ouachita is an enormous lake. Super, super cool and awesome place. But Lake Ouachita also releases water over the Blakely Mountain Dam. See if that name rings any bells, remember? And see Blakely Mountain Dam here on the Lake Ouachita side. Corps of Engineers runs all this. There's a campsite down here, but when the water leaves the dam and exits out the 80 million watt hydroelectric dam. I love the camping spot here on the left. This is just beautiful. But when the water exits the dam and goes into the river here, which is actually the Ouachita River, it's actually, technically, it turns into what we would call Lake Hamilton, which is what a lot of Hot Springs, the new part of Hot Springs, is built around. Well, I got news for you. Lake Hamilton, just literally down the way, maybe I can get down there with the drone, is where our water pickup station is for all of Hot Springs. So you're saying, Dennis, we're looking at a big hill of granite right now. Yep. That is the backside of the Blakely Mountain Dam. And we're going to run up on top of this thing in a minute. Uh-oh, the Mountain Pine School District looks like they've had them a breakdown. So they're calling for help. There we go. And if you can see far to the left here, I'll get a better picture of that in just a minute. But there's the river exiting, and right ahead, that's the surge tank right ahead of us. So why is there a big tank there? Well, the surge tank is important because you can't have a surge coming through your hydroelectric station. You have to make sure and keep that down as much as you can. The powerhouse operators park here, but I'm going to be here just for a minute for this earth-filled dam. Maximum height 231 feet. The crest length along the top of the dam is 1,100 feet. The volume of earth in dam is 4 million cubic yards in the dam alone. The base width is 1,400 feet wide, 1,100 at the top, 1,400 at the bottom. The crest elevation is 592 feet, so that's how deep it would be at the very top of the dam. The width is 200 feet. Flood control outlet, there's one conduit, and it's a 19-foot conduit. Yeah, I'll tell you more about that in a minute. There's a little bit of a misnomer here. It says power generation capacity 75 million watts. Not exactly. I'll tell you about that in a minute. The drainage area, it drains around 1,100 square miles of land that puts water into this dam. The maximum pool is 578 feet. It's 40,100 acres. The lake area and spillway elevation, 592 feet. Anyway, shoreline at elevation is about 758 or 578 feet. There's 690 miles of shoreline at 578. If it goes up, what's that? 16 feet, 14 feet, 24 feet, I guess. Then the shoreline is 975. Yeah. Storage capacity is 768,000 acre feet. Yeah. Right over here, and I hope I can get out this way. This is the powerhouse that runs the dam. This was built in the 50s. Back in the 80s, I was able to take a tour of this before a 9/11, and I'm going to ask if James Wilburn can get me in here. He's a heck of a guy and very related here, very connected. But these walls are 2 foot thick. That concrete you're looking at right now is 24 inches thick. And they can go from 0 to 82 million watts. And they've upgraded the generator, so that's how many watts this thing will do. But they've gone from 0 to 82 million watts in 60 seconds. Now, the big Redfield plant, the big plants at Redfield that run coal and gas, they're 500 and 600 and 800 million watts. So why do we need 82 million watts here when those others can produce the better part of 100,000 watts? That's because this can do it so quickly. The big power stations can take 2 and 3 hours to get going. In the middle of the summer, they'll start at 5 a.m. winding up those big generators at Redfield, which is just outside of Pine Bluff. That's Entergy that powers the vast majority of Arkansas. And it takes them quite a while to get that power up and going, get that steam up and bring it all up to a full head. And as we're going up here to the top of the hill. Beautiful, beautiful view. And I happen to know what you don't know around the other side of the hill. When we get up to the top here on the left, it's a beautiful view. It's exceptional. But up here on the top on the left, one Sunday about a decade ago, I decided to hike up through the woods and just get to the top of the hill. Well, when I got to the top of the hill, here to the left, I found something I didn't expect. They were building the brand new Corps of Engineers headquarters, which is back behind this wall. Now, I'm not even going to tease you with the dam right now. We're going to go. This is the facility that opens and shuts the gates if there's an emergency. It's a superstructure built specifically to manage the intake. This is the intake for the lake. This is where all the water comes in. And if they ever have to change out any part of the generator, if they have to change out some of the spindles, if they have to change out the gates, who wants 78 million gallons or 78 million acre feet? I'm sorry, 4.7 million acre feet flooding down on you. Yeah, no time soon, thank you. And here we are. We're top of the Blakely Mountain Dam. Now, the best way for me to capture this is not on this wonderful little camera that does a great job, but it's going to be on a drone. So you'll see the drone footage that I put in, and you'll see from where we are, the Corps of Engineers headquarters is literally just 300 or 400 yards behind us. Look at the hawks, or the buzzards actually, soaring over the thermals. I don't know if you can see that one right ahead of us. There's several. Must be some dead stuff. On the left-hand side over here, I'm going to turn real quick and just park my car because there's nobody looking. On the left-hand side, you'll see that there's the edge of the lake, right? So no big deal, right? There's a hiking trail that goes all the way around that edge of the lake on the shoreline when the lake is lower. When it's higher like this, really hard to do. And, excuse me, a couple of little tips here real quick. There is a little hidden area right back up in here that if you go to the right and straight up that way, there's a little trail that takes you up on top of some enormous rocks that have beautiful views down onto this area. Not exactly handicap accessible, but it's a gorgeous area. And this is a great point. Can you dig it? No, you cannot dig crystals in the National Forest or in the Army Corps of Engineer maintenance area. This is the other trailhead that will take you down to the water. There are concrete steps that go down to the water. When the water goes down, when the lake level goes down, you can actually walk around the edge of the lake many, many miles. And just this hill that we're looking at behind us, yeah, if this hill wasn't here, Mountain Pine School would be on the other side of this. Now, I'm going to do something unusual here real quick. Imagine that, me doing something unusual. We're going to take a little detour, and I'm going to show you something you didn't see. Right down here, in the middle of the lake, at the bottom of the dam, is a memorial. Yeah. There's a Navy SEAL whose life is about to be made a movie from Hot Springs, and his name is Adam. And Adam has a memorial, we'll show you pictures here, at the bottom of this dam. He was an exceptional young man, lost his life, I believe, in Afghanistan, but just a remarkable, remarkable young man. His family is just amazingly wonderful Christian people that frankly remind you of what we all wish we were going back to. People that were proud of their family, people who served their country, people who were selfless, people who loved their country. It's not too late for that, is it? Yeah. Okay, there's the tank. There's the Blakely Mountain Dam. Hopefully you can see part of the river there. Yeah, and we're going to grab some drone and, yeah, challenge some of these buzzards, see if we hack them off. Yes, that's right. We've arrived at the teaser part of the program. This, my friends, is the Adam Brown Fearless Rock Underwater Memorial location. It is at the base of the Blakely Mountain Dam. And on an upcoming show, trust me, this is an unbelievable story. Remarkable Christian young man who truly changed his life around and was known by his friends as a true hero. That's a teaser. We'll tell you more about it. You saw part of the video at the very beginning. Stay tuned for part 2 of this show, the driving tour from Lake Ouachita and to Lake Ouachita. But stay tuned for the third part, which will be the Adam Brown Fearless Rock Underwater Memorial. Hope you enjoyed it. Please remember to frequent our sponsors, the fine people at the Home Plate Cafe, Miss Janae Cook, a wonderful realtor here in Hot Springs Village. Don't delay, call Janae. The Hot Springs Village Voice, the newspaper here for Hot Springs Village, KVRE, our radio station, and all of our wonderful listeners. Thanks again.